Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jerred Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jerred Moon here with Kyle Schrum and Joe Courtney. Gentlemen, how's life?
Grand.
Did you say basic, Joe?
Hectic.
Hectic.
It's been basic most of the year, but now it's hectic.
That happened real quick. Well, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. As I said, we're going to cut through some of the bro science, get rid of some of that information overload. I'm actually excited about today's topic. The study is a shit show, pardon my language, if you had to actually read it. But we're gonna get into the basics of it. I'm gonna try something a little bit new for the audience, because if I were to like pull out every nugget of information in the study, it'd be hard. So let's just get right into the science of these things. And I'm gonna try something new. I'm surprising everybody here. I just want to put in very simple terms what the hell the study was, and if I'm coming off a little bit different for all the listeners this time, it's because these studies can get ridiculous with terminology, with how much they want to cover. And so I do my best job when I dive into these things to just be like, okay, what happened? What was the result? And why should we care about it? And that's all anyone listening wants to know too. They don't care about whether this was a sub-analysis of a larger percent of a study that had a cohort with it. No one cares. No one cares about this stuff. They want to know, how do I apply this stuff to me? So this is the simple science version of what happened. Okay. The name of the study, if you do want to read it, you can always go to the show notes, get the links, or you can Google it. It's effect of aerobic exercise induced weight loss on the components of daily energy expenditure. And it was done in 2021. So the study of a study, or sub-analysis of a study. And here's a simple science version. They looked at a study of a bunch of people who did cardio to lose weight. Some performed a decent amount of cardio. Other people performed a lot of cardio. They found out people who wouldn't lose as much weight. They found out people wouldn't lose as much weight as they thought from cardio alone. So people would be like, oh, I'm going to lose all this weight doing cardio. And then these people would be disappointed. And the reason is because they would eat more when they worked out, or they would not keep their calories the same at a minimum, keep them the same during their exercise program, or reduce them. So this is all like common sense to me. So the takeaway, and I'm even jumping to the not necessarily the takeaway, but the outcome is calories in and calories out. Gets a lot of flack, but the science keeps backing it up. So basically, people are going in, like, I'm going to lose all this weight doing cardio. It's going to be awesome. They lose up to 50% less than their expectation given a time frame. And it's because they're eating too much food. They won't reduce their calories, or even at least keep their calories the same and put out more work. So that is the study in a nutshell. We can dive into a lot more of this, but did I cover it well enough for everybody there? You guys feel like I did a decent breakdown on the simple science version of this study?
A lot better than
I think that's fun.
Yeah, we should just do it that way every time. That way I don't have
down.
to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Moving on.
Moving on. Done with the study.
No. So what did you guys pull out from this one? Either your own personal takeaways, things that you read in it. What were some of your takeaways of the study?
I'm not going to have much, but one thing that I did like that I would like to see in other studies is their metabolic chamber that they put them in. For like that sounded really intense and in depth. And I guess just reading the title and when I first pulled this study up, I was thinking it was something that it wasn't. And I think what I wanted this study to be, or if there's one out there, is basically take the same parameters of the study, take your cardio person, but then have a weightlifting person to
Mm-hmm.
compare with. That would
Mhm.
be cool. And that's kind of what I thought it was going to be. So I was excited, but then I was promptly let down. Um, but it was still good. It's kind of a proving common sense, I guess, kind of thing. The more you lose weight, the less you should eat, because you calculated your calories off of your previous weight, and then you lost 20 pounds, so you shouldn't be eating above what your weight was. And I think in the past we've mentioned when um, calculating protein to adjust as you go as well as your weight changes, because it's based off of your uh, lean mass than the rest. So as you go, you should adjust, and that's kind of where you start with the macros anyway. So yeah, it's kind of just proving one of those. And I didn't see the difference between the third group, which was just given like health information, versus the very low cardio group. But yeah, Kyle, what you got?
Yeah, I agree with you. I would rather have seen some comparisons to some concurrent training, or at least if you're going to do a cardio only group, then do a resistance training only group, and then maybe throw in a concurrent training group and compare the three and just see how that works out. That I think that would be really cool to see. But because what these people were doing was like it was self-selected treadmill work. Like they gave them a percentage of VO2 max to try to hit. I think it was between 65 and 85% of VO2 max. But like you can pick however much, what percentage it is that you want to do. And then they had like a calories expended per week in exercise that they wanted to keep them within. So like there was a lower group and a higher group. But self-selected treadmill work, I'm almost like, okay, cool. That's what we're doing here. But I'm with you, Joe. I like the metabolic chamber thing that they described. That seems like really cool. It's basically like a 10 by 13 room with a bed and a toilet, and you had to stay in there for 24 hours, and then they tracked like your energy expenditure with all that.
Yeah, even with sleeping and like
Yeah,
body temperature and all that. That was cool.
yeah, that sounds kind of cool. But anyway, yeah, there's not a whole lot else to say about it to me. This like Jerred said, this all seems really common sense to me, that it's all about energy balance. It's about expending more energy than you take in, and that helps you lose weight. That's pretty much it. Um, so I
Wrap
would
it up.
say, yeah, wrapping up, the study's done. Happy podcast, everybody. No, I would say, kind of giving some directions for grassroots athletes. I would just say, especially based on what they were talking about in the study, I think it just kind of reinforces what we're talking about with making lifestyle changes instead of making temporary changes. Um, Instead of trying to dump a bunch of stuff all at once, or do a crash diet or a fad diet or something like that, you need to make changes over time and let those changes become habits. And that's how you're not only going to lose weight, but you'll maintain that weight loss over time. And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with as well, is they'll lose a lot of weight, and then but what they were doing to lose the weight was not sustainable in the first place. And so when they stopped doing whatever it was they were doing, then all the weight comes back, and it's because you weren't building sustainability along the way. And so I think that just kind of this study just kind of reinforced that, which is something that we talk about all the time anyway. So just another
Yeah,
study that reinforces what we've been coaching, what we've been talking about for a long
yeah.
time.
And the rate as to which you will lose weight is going to decrease. So people who start
Right.
off losing 15 pounds in the first 2 months, and then they lose 5 pounds in the second or the third, and then 2 pounds in the fourth, get frustrated. It's like, what the heck? I lose all this weight in the beginning. I guess I'm stalled out. It's like, no, it's based off the percentage of what you've already lost, because you were heavier then, now you're lighter, so you have less to lose anyway. So the scale is going to be less anyway. So, and one thing that the researchers on this, they were even proven wrong. They estimated by like half. They were half off for what they thought
Yeah.
that people were going to lose by just calculating energy and calorie expenditure that over the time, because they thought, okay, at this rate they should still keep losing weight, but they didn't, because they kept getting smaller anyway. So they were already losing the weight, so that the rate as to which you lose weight will decrease, and there's just knowing that is important.
Well, that had to do with energy expenditure too, and like adaptations as well. They weren't really accounting for adaptations. And so they weren't accounting for people being on, because the study was for 24 weeks, right? So they weren't accounting for people doing exercise for 24 weeks and how their bodies would adapt to that exercise and become more efficient and not have to expend as much energy. And so that's something else you have to take into account when you start training, when you start exercising. Your body adapts to that and it becomes more efficient, and it takes less energy to expend the same amount of work. And that's what you want. You want to become more efficient. You want to become more fit. But if you want to continue losing weight, you want to continue making progress, you have to make adaptations as well. You have to keep changing things up so that your body is not adapted anymore and it starts expending more energy so that you can continue the weight loss. And so that's what they weren't accounting for as well. And that's something that we have to remember too, is the more you exercise, the more your body adapts to it, which means the more you need to change so that your body can continue adapting and continue the progress.
So this,
That's why I haven't lost weight in 3 years.
to me, this is another study on proving that people suck at estimation, they suck at auto-regulation, they suck at everything. And sorry, I'm not saying the listeners suck, you're all awesome. I'm just saying in general, people who are not very educated on fitness, which I actually wouldn't consider our listener base, just random people who want to lose weight, right? So if you have a friend who wants to go lose weight and they're like, okay, I'm going to start running, that's their only plan, right? I'm going to go run. I have no problems with that. But if you have the wrong expectation, I have a problem now, because it's just ridiculous. They're saying people can be off by 50%. You're like, I'm going to lose 100 pounds in 6 months here. And it's like, well, and you could be off by 50% of that. Maybe you hit 50 pounds. That's still a huge win, right? It's not the grand slam you were hoping for. But you can't just do this one thing. I wouldn't beat anybody up for adding a new positive habit in their life, but we always come back to this. Sorry, everything you want to do is going to be harder than you think that it is.
Mm-hmm.
We're the fitness company telling everybody that, and it's just true. And this shows again. So how can we kind of weave through this? And like, what do you take away is one, I don't know if you guys caught it, but the higher exercise group, so that there were two main exercise groups, and this is the actual amount they were exercising. So it was 8 calories per kilogram of body weight was what they were looking to burn over a week in aerobic exercise. And the higher group was 20 calories per kilogram per week. And that group was pretty rock solid. They did a pretty good job. So if you are looking, I'm just going to do the fitness thing, I'm just going to run, how much you do matters. And so that might be a good gauge for someone listening. If you want to calculate, okay, how much do I weigh in kilograms and what's 20 calories per kilogram? That's how many calories you should be burning that seem to be more effective than that middle to low group there. So that's one takeaway for an actual mathematical application to your fitness. If you are looking to lose weight, you can kind of see if that's something you're currently doing. But then also know that you have to change the other things. The pulling just the fitness lever. I mean, this just happened with my brother. I know I've been talking about him a lot, training with him, but it's just been, he's seeing a lot of results. But when he first started, let's just say the first month, coming to the gym was the only thing that he wanted to do. Come work out with me. And he did lose some weight. And I was like, all right, if you want to get serious, like you want to achieve the goals you say you want to achieve, you have to do these other things. He started implementing a lot of nutritional stuff, like basic nutritional recommendations for me, which were fasting. I implemented with him because he's a great candidate for it. I told him to stop drinking all of his calories because he would drink like Red Bull and sweet tea and like all these things with calories in it. If he had coffee, cream, all these things. So all he drinks now is unsweetened tea or black coffee or water. That's it. So no more calories from liquids. And I told him to start eating more vegetables. That's about it. So when we're talking about like Jerred's protocol here, anyone who's ever worked with me, Kyle knows specifically, like I go small with you. Like I'm not trying to get you to do perfection. I'm trying to get you to do what I know you can do. And now the weight is just coming off. Like crazy. And it's going to stop again because it was exercise only, then it was exercise plus very simple nutritional recommendations. This will probably sustain him from maybe in the next 6 weeks. And then from there, it's going to have to be like, all right, you had some fun. That was great. If you really want to get there now, we're going to have to talk maybe about macros or something else, adding one more habit in here now that you got these other things mastered. And that's kind of the snowball. But what most people do is they go run, they don't lose as much weight as they thought. Like, this is a lot of work and I hate it. Why would I keep doing it? And so they stop doing it and then they gain all that weight back. So just know that when you do start an exercise program, you're going to get hungry. And your body is going to want to eat more. And that doesn't mean you can't eat, but if you are just simply either matching your caloric burn in a day or at a surplus, that's the mathematical equation for gaining weight. And I know there's a huge hormonal conversation of like, it's more than calories in, calories out. Like, there's insulin and, cortisol, and that's true, guys, but I don't know how much it's true. Like, if I had to give it a percentage base, I believe those things to be true, because I feel like some people run into some weird weight loss stuff and I'm like, there might be a health thing going on. Like, but if I had to put the hormones like insulin, cortisol in the weight loss equation, it might be like 20% of it, and 80% is going to be this just energy balance of like, what are you consuming? How much are you burning? And then we can also try and control these hormones to the best of our ability. But are you getting blood tests to actually check these things? Like, or are you just, anyway, I'm not gonna go down that route. So all that to say, here's some of my takeaways. You suck at estimation. So actually track things, like track how many calories you're burning in a week. We gave you a good thing there. If you have a friend who wants to lose weight, give them this recommendation: 20 calories per kilogram per week is the goal there. So don't estimate. Also track what you're eating and either at least keep it at the same when you have a new exercise program or reduce it. If you increase it, okay. And strength training is very important. Was another thing that, like you guys mentioned, was lacking here. But strength training will burn a ton of calories and will keep you in a more well-rounded program. This aerobic exercise only, I don't think is good. So concurrent training is the answer. There is no other way for human beings to operate. You have to have strength training. You have to have aerobic conditioning. You have to have both of those in the right doses to see results. And I think if people were doing both, they would have seen even more results. I'd love to see that too. It'd be like they are exercising this much or weightlifting this much and aerobic exercise this much. And then I'd like to see the people who didn't change their diet, who did restrict calories, and those who, maintained or even added a little bit, what their results would be. Because I do think it would be different. I'm not saying you can strength train and do aerobic exercise and eat more than you should and still lose weight, but I bet it would be better and more effective than aerobic exercise alone.
Oh, and just to piggyback something else is that if you don't want to hear it's from coach's perspective, go listen to Adam Robinson's interview about changing mindsets and the longer term of weight loss and that his whole journey, because it's a great listen.
Yeah. And Kyle was nodding his head the whole time I was talking about like the different like phases of like losing weight, because I think he went through all of them though. He went through like okay, this part was easy. This one was, a little bit easier. Oh, getting a little bit harder. I have to do more things, a little more challenging. And that's just what it takes. But it's the behavioral change that's the most important part. What can you stick to? If that is just exercising, adding a run to your program three days per week, or just to your life 3 days per week, then do that. But know that these things increase in complexity before it's like a curve, like a bell curve. Like it gets harder and harder and harder. The pinnacle of the bell curve is where things are the hardest. And this is where you're probably really getting close to that goal weight, where you want to be strength wise, all these other things. But then after that, you start to come down and it becomes more effortless. So you can get to that. You can get to this, but that's because you've changed so many habits in your life that it is effortless at this point, because you're okay with eating broccoli and you're okay with exercising 5 to 6 days a week. And it's just a part of your life now. So these things are effortless. Like the point where we're all at now, I would say a lot of our results are effortless, but not to other people. Like it's
Right.
just, it's our lifestyles, but our lifestyle for someone else is like, holy crap. Like how do you do all these things? But for us, it's just, this is day to day. It's not a big deal. It doesn't take discipline. It's habitual, And so, yeah, those things going in.
Yeah. And
Uh,
all those things that I learned as an athlete working with you are the things that I use now in coaching our concurrent training elite athletes. It's all the same thing. It's small changes over time. And can you stick to this thing for a week? If you can't stick to this thing for a week, then we're going to try it for another week before we try something else. Like that's what we're going to do. And to me, it is effortless. Like you said, now, it wasn't effortless to get there. It wasn't effortless to lose the weight. It wasn't effortless to make those habitual changes, but I did that 3 years ago, and my weight is the same, and it's been effortless because it's just a daily thing now. It's just a lifestyle thing now. So I don't have to track my macros anymore to maintain my weight. I'll track them if I have a specific goal that I'm chasing. But other than that, I have these habitual changes, and that's exactly what everyone needs to do, is make these small habitual changes over time and make it a lifestyle instead of just trying to, I don't know, do a fad thing, But you're absolutely right, and that's what I used to do as well. It's like I need to lose weight. I'm going to start running. Guess what? I hate running, even now. Even
still
still,
surprised. I can't. A year
I
later,
still
I
hate
can't.
it. I still hate it, But so like just going out to run just sounds horrible to me. Some people love running, and that's fine if you love running. But if you need to lose weight, just running is not the way.
And my last takeaway from the study is that you would have been excluded from the study if you had more than 14 alcoholic drinks per week. I thought that
Yeah.
was a very high threshold
Yeah.
on the exclusionary factors there. They're like,
A dozen's good.
yeah, a dozen? That's fine. 14, okay, you're getting a little crazy. So yeah, you can drink a lot of alcohol and still be okay in the study.
Yeah, we didn't mention either, like all of the, I mean, these people were sedentary people. In the study, these were people who actually, I think, did they have to be classified as obese in order to contribute, in order to
Weight
participate?
stable. So 42 healthy males and females, so 29
Okay.
females, 13 males who were weight stable and not currently exercising more than 20 minutes on 3 or more days per week were included in the analysis. Individuals are excluded from participating if they're pregnant or breastfeeding, were in a weight loss program, had bariatric surgery, had more than 14 alcoholic drinks per week, or smoked in the past 6 months. So smoking one time in 6 months, they're like,
Nope.
but 13 drinks this week. And they're like, okay, you're good.
You're good.
That's just crazy to me. I don't know what's that's weird.
Honestly, if you take out 13 drinks per week, and you're going to lose quite a bit.
Yeah, whoever was
Get,
excluded from this study, I could help you real easy.
yeah.
This gonna be elementary stuff here. So how can people kill comfort with this information, this study that we went through? Like what's the biggest way you feel like the listeners or someone else with this information could kill comfort?
I think you already hit on it, but my kill comfort is track your food intake for 1 week. That's not something that people are used to doing. And and tracking macros is, I typically don't even start with tracking macros with people when we're coaching them. Like that's kind of the thing that everybody wants now. Macros is a high ticket item. It's something that everybody's looking for, but tracking macros is difficult. And I think people realize that, but that's one of the first thing that I have people do when we're talking about nutrition is, all right, I need you to see, and I as the coach need to see what you're actually eating for the week. So what does a typical week look like for you? And so my killing comfort recommendation is get an app on your phone or get a pen and a piece of paper and track your food, everything that you eat, everything that you drink, any kind of medication or supplements or anything that you're taking, and don't even make any changes. Like just take a week and eat and drink as normal as you normally would, but just track everything, and then you see where you are. So that's my tip.
I guess for me would be, if you have one of these weight loss goals or in general, reframing the like whatever the date is that your goal you ever set at, reframing that goal to being a checkpoint instead of an end goal. which means I want to be at this point at this time, but that doesn't mean like, okay, I met my goal. Cool, I'm good.
Oh,
Make
I
it a
like that.
checkpoint instead of a goal.
I like that.
Yeah, I think that's great because there could be necessary adjustments, right, at that checkpoint too. And I think that's another thing that needs to be looked at with people, whether it be your exercise program might need adjustment, how many calories you're burning, macro calculation. There are just a lot of things that need to be changed. You can't do this set it and forget it style in health and fitness. That's awesome. Good way to kill some comfort. I was gonna go with what Kyle said with tracking food, so I guess I'll have to go to a different one. Um, maybe I could just say track everything because I kind of think that everyone sucks at all forms of estimation with how many studies that we've read that confirm it now, and we all probably fall in that boat too. Like, I mean, I look at so much information and I probably could still be pretty far off if you're like no heart rate monitor, or I can't look at it and they're like, how many calories did you burn that workout? Right now, I feel like I could get close. I might do this. I might do it today. I might just be like, put my watch aside and connect it to my heart rate monitor and see if I can estimate how many calories I burned, but see what percentage off, because I won't be on dead on. Because I know sometimes, like if I do a strength training session, I'm like, oh, that was hard. But they're like, you only burned like 300 calories. I'm like, wow, it seemed a lot harder than that, And so we all suck at estimation. So get these tools in place to be able to see how many calories you're burning. Like Kyle said, what are you actually eating in a week is a good one. And just see how far you are off from what you think, because I know the nutrition one is always a big eye opener for people. If I would be like, hey,
Mhm.
what do you think your average calorie intake is per day? And they're like, probably like 2,200. And it's like, yeah, it was 4,200. So it's,
Mhm.
that's pretty high. And then the same with fitness. Everyone always overestimates what they burn. That was my point of what I was saying. Everyone's like, they go on a 30-minute run. They're like, was that like, 700, 800 calories? Like, no, man, nowhere close. Like you
Mhm.
barely burned off the cream you put in your coffee there. So there's a lot of other things we got to do. So just track everything and see where you're at. You don't have to track everything forever. I think that's a bad mental state to be in, but do track a lot of stuff and see where you're at. All right, now we're getting to the topic, and really, what have we implemented from our reading? I think is kind of the big topic here. And I think this could go any direction, whether a study or a book. But we cover a lot of information on the podcast, and I'm a big believer that information is basically useless without implementation. You have a lot of trivial information. If you're someone who listens to every podcast episode, but you do nothing with all the science that we're giving you, or like the takeaways from books and all this stuff, you're not doing anything with that information. um, we're glad you're here. Thanks for listening, but you need to implement something, right? That's the biggest part of any of this is the implementation side of things. It's not good just to know anything. You have to implement these things. And if you might be implementing it as a coach with other people, like, okay, I'm going to implement this with my athletes. I know we have a lot of coaches who listen to the podcast who have gotten feedback on in doing that. They're like, yeah, I listen to your podcast where I don't have to read the studies. And that's great. We'll do it for you. But also we have majority athletes listening. What are you actually doing? What have you implemented from things that we've talked about? So we're going to cover a few of those from each of us, things that we've implemented maybe more recently or even long term. So what do you guys have?
So, I'm just pretty much awesome, and I haven't changed anything. No. If
Done.
fiber fuel, yeah, if fiber fuel taught me anything, it's to not have 3 Red Bulls a day and Jersey Mikes all the time. But I really have made little changes as of right now, just because of I've already been eating. We already eat cabbage all the time here because it's readily available at the grocery store. There's some produce that's like regional, and there's other ones that they export from really far out. And even my epic scramble that I've been doing for years always had Brussels sprouts in it. But beans are something that I've been kind of going back and forth on for years, and I was never a huge fan of beans growing up. I didn't really care about them. Did paleo, and they were like, okay, no legumes, no beans. I was like, cool, that's easy. I don't care about them anyway. And then the more I've read of all these nutrition books, some have mentioned them on that they could be good, but you need to you need to prepare them a certain way. You need to soak them and cook them in pressure cooker, things like that. So now we are working on adding beans into our um, food and our food prep as well, because I think it'd be an easy way to kind of bulk up the meals. Add, Liz has been googling all these things and how much fiber they have recently. And we went to the grocery store over the weekend. We tried to find some, but they didn't have any dry beans because we need to find dry beans, not canned beans. So that's one thing that we have. I want to get start adding into. And like when we travel, we eat them. So like when we just went to Georgia, beans in a clay pot is a big thing there, and they're delicious. I freaking loved them there, and they served them with like pickled veggies, and that combination for some reason works really well. Don't know why. So and then also like pickled veggies, we wanna just there's a lot more things out here that we want to kind of implement because we can just throw those on top of anything, just to add a little more to it. Kyle.
Yeah, you talk about pickled veggies. That's something that I tried recently. Went with the kimchi and the sauerkraut.
That's full on fermented. Those are full on fermented.
Well, tasted like pickles a little bit. The kraut did anyway.
Kraut's good.
Kraut, yeah, it was tolerable. I can eat some more of that. The kimchi, I thought that I was gonna like it a lot better because it's got other stuff in it, like spices and stuff, and has some more flavor and stuff. But like I didn't like that. So
It's
kimchi's not getting added, but kraut has been added. Some other veggies have been added to my egg scrambles that I have for lunch, things like that. So just trying to be more mindful of that and adding more veggies to it. Not that I was never eating vegetables, but just adding more. I feel like, huh?
You can tell us. You weren't eating vegetables. It's fine.
popcorn.
Yeah, popcorn. That was it. No, I was eating vegetables, but I'm trying to eat more vegetables now. So that's probably the biggest recent change. Also based on stuff we read, I've been a lot more, and this has been for years, a couple of years now, I guess. Whenever it was that we covered deep nutrition, how long ago was that? That was a long time ago. Ever since then, it's been I've been really focused on the vegetable oils and stuff that's in the food that we eat, and have been trying to slowly implement some changes, not just for me, but for the family. Trying to change small things here and there, trying to get as many vegetable oil containing items out of the house. So
yeah, so I was gonna ask, like, do you mean like you're just cooking with different oils now? Yeah, looking at ingredient lists. What does that mean?
Yeah, all of that. We cook mostly with olive oil or with some butter. Now that's we don't use the vegetable oil, the canola oil sprays or anything like that. We don't use that stuff anymore. And yeah, just kind of looking at food labels and different things like different protein bars, and even if we're trying to throw a protein bar in here and there, it's like there's only like 2 or 3 of them out there that don't have vegetable oils in them. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like
anything really you buy in the store, the oils kill you.
Yeah. So and just trying to, now obviously I'm not like a tyrant and like just kind of throwing out everything that my family eats, and just trying to introduce things periodically and slowly and trying to work things up, and even down to the peanut butter. Our kids love peanut butter, but like I've slowly implemented the natural peanut butter where the only ingredients on the label is peanuts. So yeah, that means you got to stir it, but it's just peanuts. That's all that's in it. And to me, that's all that should be in peanut butter. So getting the vegetable oil and the sugar and stuff out of the peanut butter, especially since they love it and they want to eat it every day. And I think they should be eating peanut butter. I think peanut butter is good for you. And so trying to make it good, high quality stuff. So
good for you, maybe the way you're doing it.
Yeah.
Just to be real clear for anybody out there. Jif is not your friend.
No.
Or is it GIF? No, I'm just kidding. Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I've implemented a lot. If we go back from better humanology to now, most of what I do is just from conversations and studies that I've read. Like I would say that a lot of what information we've covered has formed the basis for my life, which is probably a big statement, but I'm not here to, be show everyone how smart I am on the podcast. I feel like that's how a lot of podcasts are out there. They're like, that's all the main person wants to do when they interview somebody is like, yeah, you're smart, but let me talk for a minute and show you how smart I am. And that's never been the case when I interview somebody or when we cover these studies. Like it's more of like I'm trying to learn as much as I can here. A lot of this information I did not know before I actually read it. And then I can apply other things that I've learned to a study or add like some other insights here. But that's what this is all about for me. It's about learning, and our listeners can learn in the process with us, which I think is awesome. And I've implemented a lot of things. The biggest ones I wrote down, sleep was probably the biggest thing that I've changed in a major way from Why We Sleep from Dr. Matt Walker. That was a big one because I just was kind of I knew the importance of sleep, but I very much paid lip service to that just because like I knew, yeah, from research and studies and interviews that sleep is important, but I just never really implemented it being super important. I was always okay with, 5 at a minimum, 6 was okay. 7 was like knocking it out of the park. And I would never sacrifice my morning routine. Always wake up and that was just kind of out of this like, discipline. You think discipline over everything else is the key to life, but it's not really. There are other ways to be optimal. You can still be incredibly disciplined without being routined, and I've talked about that over and over again. There's a huge difference between having discipline and following a routine, and they are not the same in my opinion. And so yeah, sleep was a big one. I consistently get 8 hours of sleep now. 7.5 probably is my new minimum. I don't really think I can actually sleep more than like 8 hours and 15 minutes. That's like my max, unless something like what happened to you the other day, Joe, like staying up super late or like whatever, then it would have to be pretty hardcore. So sleep was a big one, and I've been implementing it really since I read that book. I've just been like super on point with sleep. From Fiber Fueled, we read more recently. Yeah, I have been like Kyle. Yes, I've been eating vegetables, but not. The big takeaway from that book was variety of vegetables, which is where
Right.
I probably lacked the worst. It was more of like the same types of vegetables over and over again, just because you get stuck in a rut, and that can still happen to me. Like if I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna eat this thing, and so trying to eat more vegetables, which also actually not that hard for me because Emily was kind of already doing these things. And then I was like, hey, I read this book. I'm going to start doing all this stuff. She's like, yeah, welcome. Like you can eat all the stuff I buy. It's pretty easy. I'm like, well, we need fermented food. She's like, we have like 4 types in the fridge if you want to just start eating those. So yeah, I did just start doing those things, but fermented was another big one. I just hate most things fermented. Not going to lie. I'm just not a huge fan of the taste. I did end up liking, I think we got the same one, the sauerkraut. I forgot the company, but they had a whiskey dill one.
Mm-hmm.
So good. I actually like it. And that was a big surprising one.
I just went with the
kombucha,
plain because I was just like, I haven't had kraut, and so I was like, I'm gonna go with plain
It's a
because
bold move.
yeah, I'm just
I
gonna
usually
start there.
I usually cook it with peppers and onions, and then I'll season it some, and then I put it with sausage.
Does that kill all the bacteria though? I mean, I don't know.
Does it kill all the good stuff?
Does it kill all the good stuff?
By
That's what it is.
cooking it?
It's healthy bacteria, right? That's what the whole point behind all these fermented foods. No, we're on different pages.
I don't know what to talk about.
Joe just does his thing.
Okay.
Like cooking it? You're talking about cooking it kills the bacteria?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't know you were saying it at all.
He doesn't even know. He could be ruining it.
Well, the one thing that I did implement for fermented foods a while back was, and it was periodic, was drinking apple cider vinegar in water, mixed with water. That was like the only thing I probably honestly did, other than like taking a probiotic. So that was a big one. Bickman's stuff on insulin from way back in the day, not more recently with his book, but like way back in the day, I've been very mindful of insulin. I just know I can absolutely ruin a day if you give me a large amount of carbohydrates. And that's just me, though. I'm not like anti-carb. I just know that that's me. If you give me a large bowl of tortilla chips and I eat them all, you just ruined about 4 or 5 hours of my day. Like, I'm going to be fine for a little bit, and then I'm going to have this ridiculous crash that I just can't get out of. And I hate it. I'm so mad when it happens too. It normally happens when I go to my parents' house because they'll have something and it like sneaks up on me. I'm like, damn it, why did I eat the 9 different types of carbohydrates they served with dinner? Like, I should have just had the protein. So I do it to myself at times. But yeah, that's a big one I try to implement, because when my insulin is stable, I just feel better throughout the entire day, mentally, physically, everything. So those are my big 3. And then but I'm always picking up little things like the music thing. We covered music recently. It kind of brings my attention back to like, okay, yeah, how can I use music? A lot of rest time stuff I pay attention to, like auto regulation on rest during my exercise sessions, how to recover best between intervals. Like, do I actually need to lay in the fetal position, which is like a proven, way to recover faster through exercise, or should I stand up for the mental toughness aspect of it? So really, all of these things just kind of go into the data center that is the brain, and I pick them out. They're all tools in the toolbox that I'm using as much as I can in my training and in my life. And implementing these things is a lot. I mean, like I have a sauna in my garage, primarily from research that I read only. Like, that's a big thing. So I'm a huge implementer on these things. And if you're listening, again, what are you doing with the information we're putting out there? Not did you hear it? What are you doing? That's the most important thing.
So 115 is the Fahrenheit temperature in which probiotics start to kill it starts to kill the probiotics. So you can still heat it up,
Gotta be
which is not
low.
like really, yeah, just
Low
low.
and slow.
Can't bring it to a boil or anything like that. One of the biggest changes that I've made, thinking of the nutrition books back to deep nutrition, is cooking meat on the bone and bone broth. Big things that I've been doing a ton of, especially here. And I mean, I made that video of it. I cook 2 whole chickens a week, and I always save the carcasses and I make bone broth from it. We use it all the time, and it's fantastic for you. It does all kinds of great stuff, and you can make it for soups, delicious, everything from scratch. So those are 2 big dietary changes and things that we've done a lot of.
Trying to think if there's anything else. That's the majority of it. I mean, the EO3 elements that are in the app are from research and study and like just one thing at a time. It used to be the recovery game, and then it switched to the elements, and we added more stuff. And the recovery game was a good idea at first, but it backfired after I talked to a lot of athletes. They're just like, it was like a point system. All right, I'll explain it. For all the listeners, it used to be the recovery game. It was very similar to the elements, but it was like, hey, your workout subtracted this many points from you today, because that's how workouts actually are, that you need to recover from it. And so we'd have recovery points, which are a lot of what the elements are today. But then there were like other things like people would like factor in. They'd be like, okay, because alcohol was in there as something that would bring points down. But then people were just planning how to put alcohol into their day. And that wasn't the direction. And it wasn't just alcohol, but it'd be like, okay, if I can skip on my sleep and I can drink this much, like what other thing, like there's only so much turmeric you can have, people. Like you can't overcome all these bad habits with supplementation and other stuff. And so that's why we moved away from the recovery game, or I made that decision, because I would talk to athletes and get kind of that vibe of like, I can just make up for all this with the recovery game. And it's like, that's not really how it works. You should probably stop drinking as much as you do, and you're going to need to sleep more, and drink more water. You can't,
Stop having 14 drinks a week.
Yeah.
No, 13's fine.
What is the alcoholic threshold? I don't know, but I thought it was pretty low. I thought it was like a lot of people are like, didn't know that they're on that verge, but I thought it was like a couple drinks a week. I thought it was like, if you're having like 6 drinks a week, you were on the verge. But so 14 just made me think like, wow, it's you can't come in here drunk. All right. Don't ruin my study with your belligerent blathering.
Or you couldn't have had 1 cigarette in the last 6 months.
Yeah. Those are bad. Alcoholic drinks? Joe's looking up how many drinks it takes to be an alcoholic.
Probably good
Joe,
information for him to have.
Yeah,
Actually.
he's about to like, oh crap.
A
It's
trip
just
to
the first one
Georgia set me over the limit.
the first one that came up says 8 or more drinks for women and 15 or more drinks for men. So they just didn't want alcohol.
They went right under the threshold for alcoholic. Yeah, got it. That's awesome. All right. Well, that's the topic. What we've implemented. Hopefully everyone listening is implementing as much as they can as well. But we'll get into this workout. Who do we have today to brief the workout?
I'll do it this time.
All right.
Joe did it last time. And this one's
1,000.
pretty simple. The Meet Yourself Saturday for this week is called 1,000 because if you complete it, you will do 1,000 reps. Pretty simple. The workout is 10 rounds or 30 minutes. So you have a 30-minute time cap of 25 pull-ups. Kipping is allowed. 25 push-ups, 25 sit-ups, and 25 squats. That is it. 10 rounds of that or 30-minute time cap. Get after it. And
I'll go ahead and
over.
say topic or tip. I mean, anytime you see a time cap in one of these Meet Yourself Saturday workouts, it's for a reason and it's a safety net. Okay. If you do too many repetitions and your body's untrained, you risk the possibility of rhabdo, especially in the heat, or if you're dehydrated, all these other things that factor into actually getting rhabdo, which is where your muscles break down so much to the point that it can poison your kidneys. And so if you can't do the 1,000 repetitions in, is it 30 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, 30 minutes. You're probably not trained or conditioned for it. Like Murph could give an untrained person rhabdo, like on the spot with no time cap, right? Your chances aren't high. It's not like rhabdo is happening to people all the time, but I know a lot of people are listening to this, so I don't want to be responsible for anyone getting rhabdo. So when you ignore our time caps, you're taking your life into your own hands. So don't do it. And it happens a lot of time. It happens on Broken Arrow. It's not Broken Arrow. Which it's the Patriot. That one has a very specific time cap for a very specific reason. And sometimes I'll see people like ignore the time cap and go on. And that's okay if it's like 2 or 3 minutes over and you're just like, I just really want to finish. But if we have a 30-minute time cap and it took you 65, there are people doing it in under 30.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you need to probably work up to it or scale or whatever. So that's the big foot stomp I wanted for a workout like this, is just pay attention to the time cap. What tactical strategies do you guys have, perhaps?
And start breaking those up early. Like whether you got to do pull-ups in sets of like 7s or 5s or something, and then push-ups in your 5s as well. Just try and keep a continuous flow and movement instead of like burning out really, really early. So you're just standing around and waiting for your muscles to recover. Try and like plan it out, break up early, even from the beginning, so that you just manage your rest periods in between, and then just keep on that pace.
Yeah, I was going to say that as well. Continuous movement, trying to pace it out where you can move in a flow, like what Joe said. Just continuously move. It's 30 minutes. You know what I mean? So move for 30 minutes. Or if you finish it in 30 minutes, then you finished it. Under the time cap. But at most, it's going to be 30 minutes. So keep continuous movement and don't get caught resting for long periods of time. Just continually move. I also said warm up. Do some warm up reps, guys. Get moving, get the blood flowing before you start this one. Especially if you're not used to throwing this many reps together, in one workout, or especially stringing too many pull-ups together or something like that. Typically, we're not stringing 25 pull-ups together in our training, so this is gonna push you a little bit. So do a warm up. I would say I'm gonna give you a challenge on this one, actually, and I'm gonna say go no music. Can you do this workout with just you and nothing else happening? Can you just get into this one? This is my recommendation for the Iron Mile every time we do it. is do it no music, just embrace it. But that's what I'm going for with this one as well, because I feel like a lot of people, especially if you're going to try the continuous movement, you're going to want some kind of music that's just kind of pacing you and moving you forward and keeping you pumped up. But my challenge is, can you just face it, just you, and keep everything else quiet and keep that continuous movement going. So that's my challenge.
Cool. Well, I want to end with trivia. So their points, the accumulated amount of points mean nothing, and what everything's made up anyway. What's that quote from?
Whose line is it anyway?
Whose line
Where
is
the
it
points
anyway?
don't matter, and yeah.
So
the rules are made up and the points don't matter.
Yeah, we're gonna do that.
If we get it right, do we get a trap bar?
Well,
Yeah,
there is no getting right. It doesn't even really apply. But I want to, from each of us, what's one thing about Garage Gym Athlete? One thing about Garage Gym Athlete, our current athletes might not even know about, either maybe something they have access to or something that we do. So current athletes, or obviously if they're not an athlete, they're not going to know at all. But for either. So what is one thing you think athletes, maybe they're not taking advantage of that they should be, or it's just something they should know about or possibly utilize in the future? And I don't care who goes first, but whoever goes first gets 1,000 points.
Yep. I didn't care about the points.
You win. All right.
And I think it's because I pointed somewhere to somebody here recently, but the accelerators.
No. I should have gone first. You're killing me. Dang it. Now I got to scramble.
Now you have time.
All right. That was mine. That seriously was.
When you go on the website, when you log into your members area, if you're an active member with a membership, you get access to accelerators. And on those accelerators, there's video and information on nutrition, on building habits, accountability, things like that. So things to help you accelerate and be better. And also just a fun fact, that was the name of the very first cycle ever before Team Builder.
Accelerate. Yeah.
Accelerate. I remember
how I came aboard.
We've actually done it one other time too. I don't know if you remember. I think it was 2017, 18, something like that. I think Hard to Kill just did.
Still show up. So if you see
did it
5 rounds or 15 minutes or like 10 rounds or 30 minutes, that was like OG Accelerate, and they still come up, and I still don't like them.
It's a solid program.
Yeah.
Anyway, Kyle, is there anything is that it?
Nice.
I think that's why Joe wanted to go first. He's like,
that was my thing.
I honestly didn't think. I thought I was helping him have more time to think. But.
Oh, okay.
No, you did the opposite. I don't know. We have
this is backfiring on me hard.
Yeah, hard. Yeah. I would say we have some one-off programs that you can do as well.
There you go. I was hoping someone would mention it.
If you're not just doing the daily stuff on the app, or if you're for some reason going to be traveling or away from internet or something like that, can't use the app, you want to do it old school and print off some one-off programs. We've got one-off programs you can purchase and download as well. And once you purchase and download those are yours forever.
You don't even have to purchase them.
Yeah.
So if you're a member, you get access to, is it like a dozen, Joe,
yeah.
training center programs? Yep. And of course we want you in the app.
Right.
We'd love to have you in the app. It's a little bit more, let's say, just cutting edge on the programming side, because all the things that we're learning is kind of going there, and like feedback we're getting from athletes, it's going there. Like Hard to Kill now has a sandbag version and kettlebell version on top of just the regular version. So yeah, there are these other programs that you have access to. Most of the things I could pull out, I could just open up documents and links. So maybe it's just the documents and links section of the app. If you are one of our athletes, if you are in the bottom right-hand corner, I have the app open now. You go to more. For me, it's the third one down. It says documents and links. There's just a bunch of stuff there. I talk about it in almost every webinar we do, just make sure people know. But there are just a lot of things, like the frequently asked questions. If you need some help with stuff, there are fit test and standard spreadsheet, EO3 elements, like a document explaining more about our elements there. Goals. This one's pretty cool. So if you click on the goals link, You'll enter in like your name, email address, but you actually write out your goal. And then it's an email series that happens over the course of 12 weeks. So it's best to start it with a new cycle, but it will teach you a little bit more about goal setting in the process of these emails, but also remind you of the goal that you set like every single week. And it has to do, and it explains kind of the science behind it and everything else. But a very underutilized resource, I think, there that our athletes could benefit from. It is, whatever automated robotic type accountability, but there's an educational piece into it as well if you follow that email series. So something that I don't think that enough athletes use. So definitely check that one out. Oh, and then a sleep habits document. I forgot that I even put that in there.
Always changing, always doing more.
Yeah, there's a lot
Trivia
of stuff
is teaching us stuff about Garage Gym Athlete.
There you go. So a lot of good stuff that you could put in there for all of our current athletes. You can go access. All of that was for current athletes, and the accelerators. I feel like everyone should start there if you're not already. If you want to learn a little bit more about macros and mindset stuff, definitely dive in there. We even have there's almost too much. Maybe we should like pare down a little bit. But there's the 21 day like mental toughness challenge too. I don't know if you guys recall that. It's been a while since we've even talked about that. Maybe I could talk about the origins. You what?
But people do that. I still see comments rolling through on those pages. So people are still actively doing those when they join.
Yeah, people are still doing it, but you get access to that. There's 21 days worth of mental toughness challenge. Huge educational piece in that. That was actually a standalone product at Into 3 Fitness before it just got rolled into a Garage Gym Athlete membership. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you could take advantage of. Really outside the app is probably the biggest takeaway here. Like you can log into the members area and get a lot of stuff. And it actually going to be a lot more organized in the next month or two after we finish some of the projects we're working on currently. But that's everything that you guys could have access to if you don't already. So we'll get out of here. If you want to get access to those things, go to garagegymathlete.com and sign up for a free trial. Try out our training. You could do the mental toughness challenge. You could check out the goals. You could do the accelerators, one-off programs. You could really do any of these things that you want. And you can use them and be better for all of our current athletes. Go use more of your membership. You have a lot of things beyond daily workouts being published in an app. You have nutritional information, goal setting, mindset stuff, all these things that you guys have access to. So go use those things. But that's everything. Thanks for being a part of the community, for all those listening. And remember, if you don't kill comfort, comfort will kill you. To the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.